Welcome students, we are into our second lecture of mechanics of solid subject. This subject has got a subject code ME201 and the topic which we are going to discuss today is the Hooke's law. I am Shri Krishna Mishra, working as assistant professor in mechanical engineering department at Suresh Gyan Vihar University Jaipur, and let's start the topic. First of all, have a look on the lecture objectives. The objective of today's lecture are to study about the Hooke's law. Second objective is to apply the concept of stress and strain diagram. Then the third objective is to solve the numericals based on the concept of Hooke's law. Then fourth objective is to get overview of different types of engineering materials and their property. So these were the lecture objective. The main whole sole focus is on the Hooke's law, and from the Hooke's law, for explaining the Hooke's law, since Hooke's law has been derived from the experiment, from the test which is known as the tensile test done on universal testing machine, and therefore it is very important to get the understanding of stress strain diagram also. And while we will go through the stress strain diagram, we will also come to terms with the terms like elastic limit, your proportional limit, and all the different points which are obtained in the curve of stress strain diagram of ductile material or the brittle materials. All right, so we will have a look on everything, and on the basis of Hooke's law there are various numericals which are based on Hooke's law, so we will try to solve those numericals. Now, what are the outcomes of today's lecture? After the completion of this course, this lecture, a student will be able to know the concept of stress and strain. He will be able to analyze the Hooke's law, and he will also be able to use the Hooke's law in order to calculate some values related to some load applied on a body and the stress developed on it. Then the third outcome is that the student will be able to understand the concepts necessary to solve stress and strain problems. So these are the objectives and outcomes, and as we will go deep into this Hooke's law, we will also be getting the idea of how to calculate the elongation of a bar when some load is applied. So that will also come later on in the coming topics. So let's move into the lecture discussion now. In this we are going to discuss about the Hooke's law. Hooke's law, as I have already told you in our first lecture, I have told you what is stress, what is strain, the types of stress and the strain developed due to that stress acting. So that all things I have told to you. Now in the second lecture, I am going to tell you about Hooke's law. So according to the Hooke's law, the stress is directly proportional to strain within the elastic limit. So elastic limit, as I have already told you, when a material is stretched, means if the tensile load is acting on it, if the material on the removal of the tensile load returns back to its original shape, then this property is known as elasticity. But the maximum limit up to which it can be extended so that it gets returned to its original position after the removal of the load, that is known as its elastic limit. So within elastic limit, stress is directly proportional to strain. This is the law given by Hooke's. So it is known as Hooke's law. Normal stress we denoted by sigma is directly proportional to normal strain, which is denoted by either E or epsilon. Then in the same way, in normal stress we consider the tensile stress and compressive stress, and apart from that, if we are discussing about strain shear stress also. So in that case also, shear stress is directly proportional to shear strain. Shear stress is directly proportional to shear strain. But in that case, shear stress, we all know it is denoted by tau, and shear stress strain is denoted by gamma. So tau is directly proportional to gamma. Now if we remove this proportional sign, we will use a constant here. We will use a constant which is known as elastic constant. Its name here, in case of normal stress, its name is given as Young's modulus. This is known as Young's modulus or modulus of elasticity. It is either known as Young's modulus or modulus of elasticity. It is either known as Young's modulus. Young's modulus, or known as modulus of elasticity. All right, and it's denoted by E. In case of, this is the case when the load is tensile load or compressive load, means we are talking about the normal stresses. While in the case of shear stresses, the law says that shear stress is directly proportional to shear strain. In this case also, if we remove this proportional sign, then we will put a constant here which will be denoted by capital G, and it is known as constant of proportionality. It is known as modulus of rigidity. It is known as modulus of rigidity. All right. So this one, in the case of normal stress, it is modulus of elasticity, and in the case of shear stress, it is modulus of rigidity. Both are important. A modulus of elasticity is denoted by E, and modulus of rigidity is denoted by G. I hope you have understood this thing. Now there is a test which is known as tensile test, that is performed on universal testing machine, UTM machine, and this test is performed in order to get the value of the strength of the material, either its tensile strength or its compressive strength. Now first of all, what happens in this test? Your specimen, means a small portion, a small piece of the material whose property is to be checked, that is small piece of the material that is fixed between the jaws of the universal testing machine. All right, they are fixed between the jaws of the universal testing machine, and then the load is applied, tensile load is applied on it. And what happens on the application of load, as you go on increasing the load, what will happen? It will get extended. This portion, this is the test portion. This test portion, it will get, its length will increase, and a portion and a time will come that is, there will be a necking, there will be a small decrease in the diameter of the middle portion, and that is known as necking, and after a point it will fracture. Now this whole of the process, from starting of putting the load to taking it to the maximum load such that the material gets fractured, the whole of the process, if we plot a graph between stress, that is the load divided by cross sectional area, if we make a graph putting stress on y-axis and strain on x-axis, if we plot a graph taking stress, which is denoted by sigma, on y-axis, and strain, which is denoted by epsilon or sigma, on x-axis, if we plot a graph of this whole of the process of a tensile test on universal testing machine, we will get a graph like this. This graph, this red color graph which you are seeing here, this red color graph is showing the stress strain curve of the material. If the material is a ductile material, then you will get the complete graph, and if the material is not ductile material, it is brittle material, then this necking will not be there. Directly the material will be broken into two pieces, because in brittle material there is no yielding involved. So what is this yielding? That I am going to tell you. What happens when the load is applied on any ductile material, like for example say mild steel, it gets elongated to an extent, but when you remove the load, it will return back to its original position. This will happen to a certain extent. This will happen to a certain extent. all right, and that point till which the if you increase the stress, your strain increases. So the maximum limit of this thing to happen means the point till which stress is directly proportional to strain, that point is known as proportional limit. Beyond that proportional limit, if you again increase the stress or load applied, what will happen? Material will return to its original position to an extent, but the upper limit of this situation to happen, the upper limit of this process to happen, is known as the elastic limit. Now beyond this elastic limit, now if you increase the stress, what will happen? Strain will not be increased proportionally, it will increase at a faster rate, so this point is known as proportional limit. Then you get the elastic limit, and beyond the elastic limit, strain increases at a faster rate with increase of stress. So after that you will get graph like this. Sometimes you get graph like this way graph goes like this way, means it will dip downwards to an extent. It will first of all go to the top, it will dip downwards like this way, and then it will again move upwards. This is the exact diagram. So here this point, we say that after elastic limit the material yields means it stretches to a large extent even if we applied small load, and this phenomena is known as yielding. So this one point, the upper point after E1, the top point is your upper yield point, it is known as upper yield point. And then after, if where it's a dip means if you are reducing the stress or the load, then also if there is some strain, means if the material is elongated even after decreasing some amount of load that we have applied, and if then also the material is increasing in its length, then we say that we will get this point y2 is lower yield point. Again if you go on increasing the load, what will happen? You will again get a top point. This top point is known as ultimate tensile strength. Here the top point which you will get will be your ultimate tensile strength, and after that again this curve will dip, and this final point will be your failure point or fracture point. So this is the whole graph, of tensile test, or we can say this is the graph of stress strain curve. Basically for any material, for a ductile material, the graph which you will get in stress strain curve will be like this. In this curve you can see the first point, proportional limit. Till this proportional limit, their stress is directly proportional to strain. After this we have elastic limit. Till the elastic limit, whenever you stretch the body will regain its original dimension when the material is unloaded. Then if beyond that load, if you increase again, the load, what will happen? Now the load has gone beyond the elastic limit, so now the material will not return back to its original position, and you will get yielding. And what you will see the process of yielding, and in that process of yielding you will get 2 points. One is the upper yield point and the other is the lower yield point. Upper yield point is the top point of that yielding portion, and the lower yield point is the dip which you are getting. Means dip shows that you are not increasing the load, you are just decrease the load, even then there is some strain, means there is some increase in length. And after y2, when you again increase the load, there is again increase of strain. This will happen to a certain extent, maximum extent, and that is known as ultimate tensile strength. After this ultimate tensile strength, you will get, at last the material will be broken into 2 pieces, and that is the fracture point. I hope you have understood this. So this Hooke's law is now understood to you. Beyond that, this stress strain diagram is also now understood to you, and the proportional limit, this also you have understood. Elastic limit also, the second point. Then yield strength, then ultimate tensile strength. One thing is also there, that percentage elongation, this is also asked sometimes. So what is percentage elongation? Whenever you extend a material, whenever you extend any rod or a specimen, its length gets elongated. So the final length minus the initial length, that will give you the increase in length, and this increase in length divided by the original length, this increase in length divided by the original length, this increase in length divided by the original length, this will give you percentage elongation. So sometimes percentage elongation is also asked. Now, as I have told you, in ductile materials, you will get this complete graph of a stress strain diagram. But this one, if you can see, this is a ductile material graph, so it has gone beyond this point. But in case of brittle materials, you will get a graph like this. You will get a graph like this, means there will be increase in strain with proportionally with respect to stress, and after a certain point the material will be broken into two pieces. In this phase, this is the failure point or fracture point, and there are no yield points. Got the point? There is no yielding in case of brittle materials. Brittle materials do not exhibit an identifiable yield point, rather they fail by fracture materials, The value of the largest stress in tension and compression defines the ultimate strength, which is denoted by either SUT or sigma UT. Alright, so now these are the two graphs. So as you can see, this is for brittle material graph, stress strain diagram for brittle material, and for ductile material this is the stress strain diagram. The third one denotes the stress strain diagram for non-linear, means where there is non-linear relationship. So that is the case with rubbers and polymers. Now we are coming into our first, we can say, a portion which is related to your numericals also, that is the elongation. So let's see. For a prismatic bar for a specimen loaded in tension by an axial force P, the elongation of the bar is found by this formula. First of all, the elongation is always denoted by del, alright, del symbol, and that is equal to PL by AE. Now how you have calculated by this PL by AE formula? This, let's see. Suppose this is the specimen which you are seeing on the screen. This is the specimen, and its original length is L, and you are applying a tensile load P on it. What will happen? It will elongate, it will increase, its length will increase. Let that length increase of length will be delta. Alright, now we all know that stress which is denoted by sigma or P, stress is equal to P by A, load by area, load per unit area, load divided by cross-sectional area. So the cross-sectional area, let it be equal to capital A. So P by A is your stress, and strain is what? Strain is denoted by either epsilon or E, and it is equal to change in length upon original length. Now here the change in length you have denoted by delta, so delta by L will give you strain. Now we also know that by the formula, since through Hooke's law we have got that stress is directly proportional to strain. Alright, now through here what you will get, stress is equal to, this proportional sign is removed, and you get a constant here which is known as modulus of elasticity. Now again, if someone asks you what is modulus of elasticity, so you will get it is stress by strain. So now you have calculated stress, that is equal to P by A. Alright, that is equal to P by A, and divided by strain. Strain means change in length upon original length. So let that change in length be delta. So delta by L, this will be your modulus of elasticity. Now if you take this elongation, means the thing which is written on the right hand side below in the denominator. So if you keep this on LHS, this del, and keep everything else on the RHS, you will get the formula that del or delta, which denotes the elongation, is equal to PL divided by AE. Alright, so in this way this formula is calculated, that if you have to calculate elongation, if you have to calculate elongation, if you have to calculate elongation, you calculate in this way, you calculate by this formula. Del or delta is equal to PL by AE, is equal to PL. P is the load applied, L is the original length, A is the cross sectional area, and E is the modulus of elasticity. Alright, now coming into a numerical which is based on this same theory which I have told to you. A steel rod 1 meter long, there is one steel rod 1 meter long, and its cross section is 20 mm by 20 mm, is subjected to a tensile force of 40 kilonewton. Determine the elongation of the rod if modulus of elasticity for the rod material is 200 gigapascal. For the rod material is 200 gigapascal. So if this is the rod, no, the cross section is not circular, it is of square shape, so you will not make this. What you will do, you will make in this way. See, in this way the rod is of this dimension. So that in order to make you understand, I am making this diagram. The rod is like this. Now here the cross section means 20 by 20 denotes this. This is 20 and this is 20. So this will give you the cross sectional area. This is the cross sectional area. And apart from that, the length they have given you is 1 meter. The length they have given you 1 meter. So what you will have to do, since this unit is in mm, this is also in mm. So this length is given in 1 meter. So we will not take 1 meter. We will multiply it by 1 meter into 10 to the power 3. This will give you the value in mm. Means 1000 mm is the length. Now the force that is applied on it, the force that is applied on it, the tensile load that is applied on it is 40 kilonewton. 40 kilonewton means if you convert it into Newton, you will have to multiply it by 10 to the power 3. So 40 into 10 to the power 3, this is the value, this is the value of P. The value of length is 1000 mm. The value of area, how you will calculate the area? Area will be calculated by, area is the cross sectional area, it will be equal to 20 into 20 mm. So if you do this, what will happen? If you put all the values of P, L as I have told to you, then A also, alright, E is also given in the question. As I have told you, modulus of elasticity is denoted by capital E. It is given as 200 gigapascal. 200 gigapascal means 200. If you have to convert it into Newton per mm square, since all the units are in mm, therefore this gigapascal has to be converted into Newton per mm square. So for converting it into Newton per mm square, we all know 1 Newton per mm square, 1 megapascal denotes, 1 megapascal denotes what? 1 megapascal denotes 1 Newton per mm square. Now for gigapascal, if you move from megapascal to gigapascal, you will have to multiply with 1000. So 200 into 10 to the power 3 will make this 200 gigapascal value getting converted into Newton per mm square. So this value also, E is also given to you. What you will do in this formula, guys, what you will do, students, in this formula you will put the values of P, L, A and E, and finally you will get the answer. The answer is, when you will make the calculation, try it, you will get the answer as 0.5. Just make the calculation. I hope you have obtained this answer, 0.5 mm. Now let's move into the second numerical. Second numerical is what? A mild steel wire. Let's read the second numerical, second example. A mild steel wire 5 mm in diameter and 1 meter long. This is giving you the diameter and length. Now in this case the cross section is not square, the cross section is circular. Since the diameter is given to you, this means the cross section is circular. Alright, the cross section is circular. Its length is given again. The length here given is 1 meter. Alright, 1 meter means, again if the all the other units are in mm, therefore again we will multiply it by 1000. Then after the diameter is given to you, on the basis of that diameter we will calculate the cross sectional area. The diameter given is 5 mm. The diameter given is 5 mm. So the cross section area of a circle of diameter 5 mm will be equal to pi d square by 4. Pi d square by 4. This is the area of the cross section. Diameter is given to you as 5 mm. You can calculate by putting the value of d as 5 mm. What you will get? You will get the area, cross sectional area, equal to this value which is given here. You will get the cross section area value equal to this value given here. Alright. Then one thing is calculated, area we have calculated. Apart from that, what we need the value of L, means length. Length is given 1 meter, as I have told you. It will be equal to 1000 mm. Then after E, modulus of elasticity, again it is in gigapascal, means as I have told you in the previous numerical, to convert it into Newton per mm square, you will have to multiply this value by 1000, means 2000 into 10 to the power 3. This will give you the value in units that is desired, means Newton per mm square. Got the point? Now coming on to the load. Now the axial tensile load that is acting is 10 kilonewton. 10 kilonewton load is acting. 10 kilonewton load means this is the value of P. Now since this value is in kilonewton, what you will have to do? You will have to multiply it by 10 to the power, you will have to multiply it by 10 to the power 3. So all the units, all the values desired for calculating the elongation, find the extension, elongation, increase in length, these are all the same words, the same things, means you will have to find the increase in length in the case of extension or elongation, whatever is written. Here it is written extension. So the extension of the rod, again the formula is PL by AE. The formula is PL by AE. This is the formula written, PL by AE. Put all the values, force P, length L, area we have calculated, again modulus of elasticity, all units we have changed, and finally you will get the value in mm as 2.5. 2.5 mm will be your elongation, which you will get after calculating it. 2.55 mm is the value which you will get after doing this. So I hope you have understood this numerical also. Write down the just first of all cross check whether this answer 2.5 mm is correct or not. So I think you have checked the answer. 2.55 mm is the answer. Now one more numerical we will do, so that this comes in our mind in a better way. A hollow cylinder 2 meter long has an outside diameter of 50 mm and inside diameter of 30 mm. Now this is the case of a hollow cylinder, means the case here is not of solid cylinder, this is for hollow cylinder. Hollow cylinder, I hope you have understood what is hollow cylinder. Hollow cylinder means this way, it is not complete, it is hollow. like this. This is a hollow cylinder. This is what? This is a hollow cylinder. Now in hollow cylinder, what will be the changes? The load will that will be applied will be same. So first of all, let's read a hollow cylinder 2 meter length. So L, total original length, is given to you. 2 meter means 2000 mm. It has its outside diameter. The outside diameter let us denote it by d naught or do, and inside diameter di. All right. This will help us to calculate the cross sectional area. How we will calculate the cross sectional area? Area we know is given by the formula pi d square. Area is given by formula pi d square. So if we have to calculate the area of this bigger circle, so it will be pi d naught square, means outer diameter, by 4. And if we have to calculate the inner diameter, inner area, means this inside area, this circle, the area of this smaller circle, so it will be pi di square by 4. So when you will subtract, you will get the hollow portion area. Hollow portion's cross sectional area, means the formula will be this. Here they have denoted capital D, means that is the outside diameter, and small d, that is the inner diameter. So the both values are given to you. Values are how much? The values are 50 and 30. So in this way you get the cross sectional area as 1257 mm square. And stress that is acting in the cylinder, that is denoted by sigma. We all know the formula P by A. So from here you can calculate this is the value of stress. If they are also asking separately the value of stress. So stress you all know, force by area, load by area. This is the formula. So by using this formula, load is given to you as 25 kilonewton. If the cylinder is carrying a load of 25 kilonewton, means 25 into 10 to the power 3 newton. So this we will put as the place of load. And area also, area is we have calculated 1257. This we will put, and finally we will get answer 19.9 Newton per mm square, and Newton per mm square is also denoted by megapascal. Second, the deformation of the cylinder. Deformation of the cylinder has also to be calculated, and we all know the deformation or elongation or extension or increase in length, they all denote the same thing. So increase in length del L is equal to PL by AE. P we have the value, L length value 2 into 10 to the power 3. Again area we have calculated. E means modulus of elasticity, that is given for the material, it is in gigapascal, means again the same thing, we have to convert it into Newton per mm square. So just we will multiply this gigapascal value by 10 to the power 3. So it will be 100 into 10 to the power 3. This will be the modulus of elasticity value, as you can see. Putting all the values, you will get the value of a deformation of the cylinder or elongation of the cylinder. I hope this numerical is also easy, and you can easily solve this numerical also. So that's all for today's class. Now let's solve some multiple choice question, so that to get a strong hold on the concept, and also to assess whether we have understood the concept nicely or not. So starting with our multiple choice question number 1. The question number 1 is, the total change in length of a bar of different sections is equal to the, option A is sum of the changes in the length of different sections, option B is average of the changes in the length of different sections, option C is difference of the changes in the length of different sections, and fourth is D option is none of these. So the total change in length of a bar of different section is equal to, as you can see, if you want to find the total change, it will be equal to the sum of the changes in the length of different sections. So option A is the correct answer of MCQ 1, multiple choice question 1. Coming into the second MCQ. A circular bar of length L uniformly tapers from diameter d1 at one end to diameter d2 at the other. If the bar is subjected to an axial tensile load P, then its elongation is equal to, now this is the concept, as we all know by formula. We all know by formula that the correct formula for this particular question is which one? 4PL upon pi E d1 d2. So answer C is the correct answer. Coming into the MCQ multiple choice question number 3, and the question says that the maximum stress produced in a bar of tapering section is at, so in tapering section, as we know that as the cross section of the section decreases, and so its stress increases at that smaller cross section portion. So we can say that here the smaller end will have more stress as compared to the larger end or any other portion. So option B is the correct option. All right, now moving into the MCQ number 4, MCQ number 4. In a composite section, the number of different material is option A 1 only, option B 2 only, option C more than 2, and option D is all of this. So we all know that in a composite section there are there are more than 2 different materials. So here we can say either B or either C can be the answer, because composite section itself means that it is made of 2 different material, or it can be of the same material also. So here answer D can be the correct answer. Why? Because a composite section can have either a single material of which different parts or different sections are made. All right, it can either have 2 or it can have more than 2, means all the 3 options are correct. So in MCQ 4 the correct answer is D answer, all of these. Coming into the next multiple choice question. Now the next multiple choice question is a composite section contains 4 different materials. The stresses in all the different materials will be, now what will be the value of stress in all the different materials? Now as you can see, it can't be 0. Option A can't be there. Option B, it is all the stresses will be equal. No, it is also not the correct answer. The stresses will be different, or it is the ratio of their areas. Now stresses will be the, what should be the answer of this MCQ? The answer of this MCQ is that the stresses will be different at different section. So MCQ 5 has got the answer. Option C is the correct answer. Now the MCQ number 6 multiple choice question number 6 is the slope of stress strain curve in the elastic deformation region is. Now what is the slope of the stress strain curve in the elastic deformation region? Now we all know that we have already studied this, that in a stress strain diagram the slope means tan theta. This slope means this tan theta value. This is angle theta. This is the curve of a stress strain diagram. Then this slope is the slope of a stress strain curve in the elastic deformation region is what? Now from the option, let's see, elastic constant. We all know that slope means basically what? This is given, y-axis is your stress and x-axis is your strain. So basically your slope means this side divided by this side. So this side is basically your stress and this side is your strain. So tan theta, that means slope. Tan theta means slope, which the question is asking, is equal to, it will be front side divided by the base side. So you all can see you all can see that stress by strain, which is also known as elastic constant E, it is also the slope of the stress strain curve. So the answer of this particular question, this particular MCQ, is your option number A, which is elastic constant. So option A is the correct answer. The slope of stress strain curve in the elastic deformation region is A, which is elastic constant. I hope you are getting what I have told to you. Anna? All right. So this was your MCQ number 6. Moving into the next multiple choice question. Now this is MCQ number 7. The stress in a rod is 70 Newton per mm square and the modulus of elasticity is 2 into 10 to the power 5. This is 10 to the power 5. Corrected. It is 10 to the power 5 Newton per meter per mm square. Now what will be the strain in the rod? You have to calculate the strain, the stress. Sigma is given to you. Modulus of elasticity E is also given to you. Now you have to calculate strain. So we all know that stress by strain gives you the value of modulus of elasticity. So this means that if you have to calculate strain, it will be equal to stress and E will go into the denominator of LHS. So it will be equal to sigma by E. Sigma by E means sigma value is 70 and E is given as your 2 into 10 to the power 5. So divide and get the answer. So if you will divide, you will find the answer is 0.00035 and in the option this value is given in option B. So B is the correct answer. The correct answer is B. B is your correct answer of this particular question. Coming into the next numerical. I hope you have got the understanding of this particular numerical. Now coming into the next numerical. Now the next MCQ, next multiple choice question says that the stress point at which extension of a material takes place more quickly as compared to increase in load is called as. Now you guess what should be the answer? The stress point at which extension of a material takes place more quickly as compared to increase in load is called as, see again, this is the stress strain diagram, this is your stress, this is your strain, and if you see graph goes like this till here, stress is directly proportional to strain, and from here the curve bends like this. This bending shows that your stress is not increasing to an extent as strain is increasing. All right, and this process or this area or this zone is known as yielding zone and the point is known as yield point. This particular process, this particular portion is known as yield zone, and in this yield zone you get 2 points, one at this maximum yield strength and the minimum yield strength, upper yield point and lower yield point. So this particular portion from here to here, this is known as your yield area and these are the yield points. All right, so the answer is of this MCQ is your C, option C. All right, I hope this is also an easy question and it is well understood by you. Coming to our next multiple choice question. This is our multiple choice question number 9 and this question says that the stress which acts in a direction perpendicular to the area is called. Now see, stress if it acts perpendicular to the area means if this is the area, if stress acts in this direction or this direction, then in that case we say that the stress is normal stress, that the stress is normal stress. So a stress which is perpendicular to the cross sectional area is known as normal stress. A stress which is perpendicular to the cross sectional area is known as normal stress. Tensile stress and compressive stress, they are normal stress because they act perpendicular to the concerned area. So option B here, option B is your correct answer. All right, this is the area, and the stress perpendicular to any area is known as your normal stress. If your area concerned is like this, then the stress which will be perpendicular to this area, if you are considering this area, let this be the area, if this is the area of the portion, then stress in this direction, this will also be known as normal stress because it is perpendicular to the area concerned. All right, so I hope you have understood. Now coming into the next multiple choice question. This is a numerical, and what the numerical says, the total elongation on a 300 mm length with 0.22 mm under a tensile load of 17 kilonewton, strain developed in it is, now the total elongation is given to you. We all know total elongation divided by delta is equal to PL by AE. All right, this is the elongation. All right, so the question is asking you about the strain. So we all know strain is given by change in length upon del L by L. Del L by L gives you the value of strain. All right, and this, from this formula, if you see in this formula, if you put all the values, for example, the load applied is 17 kilonewton, then the length given to you is 300, then area and Young's modulus. So Young's modulus value is given to you here. No, it is not given. So by putting all other values, you can get the answer of this particular question also. All right, this is also not a very difficult question. So you can easily solve, and you will find that the answer is your answer number A. A is the correct answer. So all the MCQs are solved, and if you want to know the sources from which the data or the references have been taken for this particular video lecture, then these are the references which have been taken. These are the books like the Mechanics of Solid book by Cradle, then Engineering Mechanics of Solid book by Popov, Introduction to Solid Mechanics by Shames, Strength of Materials by Timoshenko, and Strength of Materials by R.K. Bansal. So these are the sources which you can take for reference. So this was all in today's lecture. I hope you have understood everything which have been taught to you. Still you find any difficulty, we will try to solve it in the coming lecture. Thank you all, and have a nice day.